pretty fun conversation after we just did this live. And we're going to do the 60 minutes rest of the story, right? Because I just asked you something really intriguing and you got some juicy stuff on this. So I asked you, what happened with the Charlie Kirk situation? Like, how did you respond to that? And you started sharing something, and I said, hey, can we go live again? So you want to talk about it?
How fun is this? Like
Yeah.
real life, right here,
Yeah.
off the cuff, just Jill and Nicole chit-chatting.
Yeah.
So it was interesting that you asked me about the Charlie Kirk situation, because I was actually just speaking about it this morning. But as a girl who's from Arizona, what I was sharing with you is that before that horrific event, I had never heard of him before. And I've lived in this town for a long time. His family home is 10 minutes probably away from where I live, where I raised my family. I Nobody in my town knew that the headquarters was here. And I'm not saying that that nobody knew who he was. It was just very interesting the level of martyrdom that I saw evolving in media and the notoriety that his persona had in certain realms of the world, but I just had no, nor anybody that I knew had any knowledge of who this man was, and that the headquarters was really, just like 15 minutes away. So when the assassination occurred, of course, I'm in the business of grief and gun violence and trauma. My phone was ringing and pinging with messages from people that I knew and people that I didn't know. And as we said earlier last hour, I really don't take a political stance when it comes to gun violence, because I think that demeans the message of healing from the trauma that I am trying to represent. So I just kind of sat back and I watched. I mean, Erica Kirk went to the same high school that my kids went to, and I still had never heard of this movement. So it was really eye-opening for me when that was
Mhm.
all kind of occurring in my backyard, and I was watching it unfold on national news from my backyard.
So if people are just catching up, you're the author of Bulletproof, which is Healing from Gun Violence and Trauma. What's the rest of
Mhm.
the subtitle?
A guide for survivors, caregivers, and clinicians.
Thank
I
you.
just had to actually look at
Yeah.
it to
It's got three.
remember.
That was our strategy. It's got three titles. Okay, so and we were just talking about my question was like literally one of the interesting things about your topic is it could be almost considered like ambulance chasing, right?
Yes.
Right. And so how do you navigate that? And so I think Charlie Kirk is a perfect example of one of the biggest opportunities, but how do you manage that? Like what's your viewpoint on
Well,
situations like that?
I love that you just asked this question, because you and I did not prep this. This is
Mm-mm.
just off the cuff conversation. And what was so intriguing for me specifically with that death is immediately after the funeral, which was again held in Arizona, essentially, in my backyard. Um, I had two gentlemen whom I very much revere locally reach out to me and say, "When can you be available to go live?" And I was like, "Whoa, whoa, what are we talking about here?" And they're saying, "Erica Kirk just forgave the shooter, and we think that we need to go live and have a conversation with how powerful that is. And you're the person to do it, because you are the expert in and the author of, you know, Bulletproof: Healing from Gun Violence and Trauma." And Nicole, to answer your question, how I stay clear or stay away from allowing my message to get lost in the political rhetoric is I just say no,
Yeah.
right? That is a moment where we could have capitalized, I could have capitalized, our viewership numbers could have grown. And what I had to say to these two gentlemen, whom I love and whom are very educated men, talented in their skill, I had to say, no, thank you.
Mhm.
And there was a little back and forth. There was a little
Yeah.
confusion where, and I understand, from a mental health perspective, there was this one ideology of, well, we need to talk about the importance of forgiveness in healing. And Jill, you're the person to talk about it. And as I mentioned in our previous hour of you and I together, Nicole, is that I have learned specifically with this topic that even if you don't take a stance, people will make the assumption that you have a stance. And so I just had to say, I love you both, and I'm, not trying to pop your balloon, but just by taking part in this, it will lead people to believe that I have a stance, a political stance regarding gun reform, you know, all those things that are associated with the word firearm or gun, and I will lose the audience that I want to speak to, which is anybody who's been impacted by gun violence trauma. That
Mhm.
is anybody who's lost a family member to firearm suicide, because they are included in those rates. Anybody who's witnessed a mugging, anybody who's, been held up with a firearm. And so it's a hard line to walk. I'm not going to lie. I have to be really clear, and in the same time, um, I may lose viewership. I may lose followers because I don't take a stance on A, B, or C when it comes to the gun violence rhetoric.
Yeah,
It's tricky.
it's very tricky. It's really tricky because you want and need to be part of the conversation, but on your terms, right?
The flip side, you asked a question a minute ago and you used a term that I have, now we're talking in complete honesty, that I've struggled with since I released the book. And you said ambulance chaser.
Hmm.
So anytime there's an event, and we all know about every 2 weeks, I'm throwing that number out, but it feels like about every 2 weeks a new gun violence event occurs. It could be in our country, it could be in another country. And my phone just rings and rings, and beautiful, concerned individuals are saying, like, Jill, you've got it. Like, the world needs to know about you. The world needs to know about your book. You need to make a statement. You need to, right? How do we get you in
Hmm.
front of? And as much as I appreciate the what I consider real respect for my book and the mission, I internally struggle with not wanting to feel like an ambulance chaser.
Yeah,
And it's hard. It's
yeah.
hard because I know that when the next nightclub event happens or park shooting occurs, um, that I have a real tool that is going to help people. I do firmly believe that. Um, but bringing it up soon after a gun violence has occurred feels kind of icky,
Hmm.
right? Even those are not my intentions, but we're not talking about, you know, um, other types of products.
Yeah,
We're talking about a product that helps you heal from gun violence. So I never want to benefit off of somebody else's pain,
yeah. Beautiful.
but I still
Well
want the
said.
book to get out there. So therein lies
Hmm.
the incongruence for sure.
Hmm. Beautiful and well said. I just wanted to share that because
Mm,
it's a very real and unique challenge you have.
yeah, it is.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you for acknowledging it, because I
And
don't think
no,
a lot of people get it.
wow, and you do it so beautifully. You really do. Like mad respect
I
for you.
try.
All right, now we can let him go. There you go. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole.
Bye.
Appreciate you.